In 1994, in Seattle, Henry Lai, with his study on rats, was one of the first to report that cell phone-like radiation damages DNA, seen as a first hint of cancer. When his work was reported, his funding dried up.
In 3.5 years, nothing happened. You wonder what's going on.
A few years later, the head of the U.S. body that figures out how much cell phone radiation is acceptable reported a problem. When Om Gandhi published a report showing the brains of smaller adults and children absorb much more radiation than that big man Sam, his long and profitable ties with the defense and electronics industry came to an end. In Davis's book, Gandhi is quoted as saying, "Anytime there's evidence of an effect, there are many others brought in to show that there is nothing." Also in the mid-90s, the Canadian and American cell phone industry gave a Washington-based scientist named George Carlo $28 million for research. He spent years telling people not to worry, until the end, when he says his study started to show there was an effect.
When they found that we had findings of genetic damage and increase in the risk of cancer, they cut off our money completely.
Then, in 2002, Franz Edelkofer, who had been chief of research for the tobacco industry in Germany, was given millions of euros by the EU to test the hypothesis that cell phone exposure is safe. Edelkofer was shocked when results came back showing genetic damage that was 10 times more likely with the new, more powerful 3G phones. A few months later, Edelkofer was accused of fabricating his results. He's now battling what he calls an industry smear job. We reached him in Munich, Germany.
Mobile phone industry has taken over some methods used by the cigarette industry in the United States for many, many years to hide the truth.
You're suggesting a massive effort to make negative science go away.
It's not that hard. The first thing you do is you don't fund the science at all. It's really tough to do research. And there are lots of important questions we can study. So why would anybody in their right mind want to go into a field that's dangerous to get into?
But still, many do. Health Canada says the weight of evidence from animal, cell culture, and human studies does not indicate that the energy emitted by cell phones is strong enough to cause serious health effects. Well, what about cancer? We did our best to find all the lab studies done around the world in the last 2 years on whether there is any link to cancer. We found about 15. Almost half did not find any harmful effect, but a bit more than half did. Check this out. 2 studies from Italy and 1 each from China, Turkey, India, Austria, Croatia, Sweden, and Germany, all showing a biological effect from cell phone radiation. So you're afraid this could be as bad as tobacco?
I think it could turn out to be worse than tobacco for one simple reason. We've never had a situation where all people smoked. Today, around the world, almost all people are using cell phones.
But cell phones have been around for a long time, and we're not seeing any big spike in brain tumors.
That's true, but cell phones have not been around for a long time with heavy use. In fact, 10 years ago, less than half of all Americans and Canadians used a cell phone at all. At all. Now, almost all of us do use them. If it takes 20 years for a risk to become evident in the population, if it takes 30 or 40 years, we won't have proof that cell phones are dangerous in the human population until I'm dead.
While there is no huge spike in tumors, there have been small increases reported.
We're seeing effects with hearing. We're seeing tumors on the hearing nerve. We're seeing tumors on the cheek. We're seeing tumors in the brain, right around the areas. And we're seeing tumors on the side of the head where people most often hold their phone.
And some of those results are from Davis herself. While director of the Cancer Institute at the University of Pittsburgh, she wrote a paper that showed a significant increase of brain tumors among Americans in their 20s. She says she was not given the funding to continue that work. You're now writing this book. You used to be at a university. You're not there anymore. Have you been sidelined because of your speaking out on this?
I decided that it would be better for me to leave the university to work on this issue, that it would be better for me to do this work without the constraints that I faced as the director of the Center for Environmental Oncology at the University of Pittsburgh Cancer Institute.
Davis stepped down as director of that center last December. The university's strategic partnership with Verizon, the wireless company, continues to flourish. The university didn't want to talk to us about her departure either. So no backlash against you? You haven't been made to suffer for speaking out on this? You talk about a massive lobby on this issue.
You'll have to talk to the university. I don't really have any other comment to provide at this time.
But she's not shutting up about cell phones.
Because I think this could become the most important public health threat of our generation. I'm a grandmother now. You know, I've been in science for more than 3 decades. I don't have much to prove, but I do feel an obligation to let people know that this is a very, very serious problem, and we had better get serious about addressing it.
If you want to make up your own mind on all of this, we will be posting the information we've gathered from both sides on our website. Follow the links at cbc.ca/thenational.